Look, Newcastle have been a form side. They had a period last year where Eddie Howe struggled with injuries. It really affected them. The European side of it as well. This year they don't have any of that. They have less injuries. They have Tonali back. They have no European football. Their big players are in form. Shaka and I were talking about Joe Linton. He's just one of many, but he's just a Trojan horse at the moment wherever he plays. Gordon's form, Jacob Murphy's form, Tonali's form since the suspension. The fact that they defended their box as well as they did as well. It's not just about the excellent performance once again of Alexander Isak up front, and that's one of the big differences between the sides, and we can get to that Newcastle have a quality front man that would walk into a lot of teams and Arsenal don't, and that's part of the big difference. But also the other side of it as well is Newcastle wanted to do the defensive side of the game today, particularly in the second half. I didn't agree with this having no striker at the end. Although you've gone sort of 5-5 defensively, there's really no outball. And so it's just coming back and coming back and coming back. But Botman and Byrne and Livramento and Lewis Hall and Dubravka and all these guys, they just defended their box like they are desperate to win a trophy. And that's as important as Alexander Isak up at the other end, getting all the headlines.
I'm sure we'll get to the point where we sing in Newcastle. I'll certainly take that opportunity to sing Newcastle's praises. But to Eddie Howe's defence, and I'm with Craig, the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, if not a little bit more, just seem to drag on from a Newcastle perspective because you don't have that strike, you don't have that outball, but you're defending a lead. You're defending a lead, more to the point, to take back to St James's Park. So in the words of former coach up at Newcastle, Arthur Cox, absolute legend, this is only half a loaf. So even if you were to concede at that point and kind of hand momentum back over to Arsenal, which they should have taken, it doesn't feel that bad because the second leg is still to come at St James's. That being said, there was so much about Newcastle, about Arsenal that surprised me. As ever, there's this threat, there's this atmosphere about Arsenal whenever they get a set piece. And that just kind of speaks to how their season has gone. Yet still, you saw opportunity after opportunity go a-begging. We saw Timber early on. In the second half, there were so many more that we could have pointed to. The big opportunity to Kai Havertz. And then to give up the opening goal in particular as easily as, by their standards, as they did. It just didn't feel like the Arsenal that we've seen all season long. So while you're Newcastle and you go back up to the northeast with a 2-0 win in London, it just doesn't feel as secure as maybe that scoreline suggests, because surely Arsenal are not going to fluff their lines in front of goal in that manner again anytime soon.
And Newcastle, the two centre-backs have been absolutely fantastic, where I found Saliba and Gabriel sometimes in some difficulties to cope with the situation. Isak was tremendous, especially the first half. I mean, he had 3 chances on his own, taking on one of the two centre-backs, of course scoring the goal, creating chances to himself. Great performance from the striker. Arsenal, they're not there yet. I mean, comparing to what we have known, they're not there. They're not back from the New Year's Eve for me. Martinelli made when he hit the post, he made a huge mistake. I mean, I was talking to Sonny Anderson, one of the best strikers in the world, playing for Barcelona and Brazil. He said he should have carried on. They missed opportunities that they didn't miss before. And they're not as clinical as they used to be defensively. That's the big difference. And where was Odegaard the first half? He was completely absent.
Let me get to
give him a rest at the weekend, Odegaard. Against Brighton, he had to bring him on in the second half because they were struggling. I've just read one of Arteta's quotes. It's not the result that reflects the story of the game.
Again?
I tell you what the story.
Oh my God!
I tell you what the story of the game is for the Spaniard. If he's got any ears for anybody who's trying to tell him, the story of the game is Newcastle, and he mentioned it. Newcastle were efficient, and that's the difference. And it is a gaping hole, in my opinion. And one of the big differences why Arsenal have come up short when they were fighting City and how they'll probably come up short against this Liverpool side. Because this Liverpool side have got goals all around them without really having a natural striker. They've got Mo Salah, they've got Diaz, they've got Jota, they've got Gakpo. All these guys can score in big games. This is a major, major problem for Arsenal. This Havertz-Jesus situation. And if they don't address it, then maybe he'll get the summer to go and address it again, and they'll push again. But if he continues to go through this season, which I think they will, and then through the summer without addressing it again, I think it's going to eventually cost him his job.
If they don't address it now when they've got a chance to.
But who are they going to buy in January?
Yes, exactly. So
who's going to go in? That's a problem.
Can they win any silverware then with what they've got?
Well, they've been hoping that Alexander Isak would be the answer to their issues. A lot of suggestion that was going to happen in January, kind of given some of Newcastle's summer financial issues. That's not going to happen. Not Alexander Isak for Newcastle, given the season that they're having, on the verge of a top four, halfway through a cup semi-final. So start setting your sights elsewhere. But while the question is, will Arsenal do anything about it in January? We all knew Arsenal needed to do something about it in the summer. We knew they needed to do something about it last year, January. And they haven't addressed that issue. So why all of a sudden now there's this kind of almost panicked approach, or certainly it feels like that on the outside, when that's been there for quite some time. I just want to touch on Craig bringing up Arteta's quote, and I really wanted to hear what Arteta had to say about this, how he'd spin this. And while maybe he's right that the scoreline doesn't tell the story of the game, I feel the story of the game kind of took on a different feel because of the last 20 or 25 minutes, when Newcastle are 2 up and defending that lead and playing 2 banks of 5, as Craig mentioned. Before then, it did not feel as lopsided as the 69-31% possession as it was. It felt a whole lot closer to 55-45, albeit in Arsenal's favour. And as I mentioned, now Newcastle, knowing a second leg is to come, they want to defend. Not that they have to win the first leg, but at least let's keep ourselves in this. Let's not let Arsenal run away with it. And then all of a sudden, that last 20 minutes felt a whole lot different. I thought Arsenal played their best football in the last 20 or 25 minutes. And the big criticism around them is, and you feel it in their own stadium, that they are at their most dangerous from set pieces. And they know that. They don't try to disguise it. But then all of a sudden, Newcastle do as they do. Jorginho gets on the ball, incredible parts of the football, and that's when Arsenal are their best. But Jorginho isn't a player who can do that for 90 minutes, can do that when the game is still in the balance, when the opposition is pressing you and denying you that room and running in behind you, because he doesn't have the legs anymore. So there's this strange, to Arteta's quote, there's this strange feeling about this game that I don't think paints an accurate picture, certainly for the first 55 minutes an hour of it.
Take a look at the odds for this game of who will advance. There's also been some new VAR announcements which were actually introduced into tonight's game.
There was no VAR.
I know. It's only the final decision what would be announced. It would have been trialled if that would have gone on. However, Ange Postecoglou has been asked about it. Here's what he had to say. He said, do I welcome it? No. Do you think if they had shown the handball on the weekend that our supporters would have been happy? Would they have come away and said, oh, that's great? They explained it. It does seem as though he might still be dwelling on what did happen the other day in the game against Newcastle. Is that a problem?
Yeah. Well, I think the least of his... Well, I mean, look, do managers and players dwell on things? Yes. You can't change it now. Davey was saying to me yesterday, well, everybody's doing it now. But because everybody's doing it doesn't mean it's correct. It's to overplay against one of the better sides in the Premier League who'll close you down. You're at home. You've just taken the league. That's as big a problem to me as the handball. That's game management. And Tottenham's game management has been horrendous recently. Absolutely horrendous. So Postecoglou's issue here is he's playing a team over 2 legs that, although they had a particularly average game at the weekend, Liverpool, they're the best team in the country. And what has changed from the game a couple of weeks ago where Liverpool ripped them apart? What has changed that any of us could sit here and say, yeah, I can really see Tottenham over 2 games beating this Liverpool side. That's a hard sell, is it not? Well, I mean, that's got to be one of the toughest. And am I missing something? Has somebody gone for Tottenham to go through over 2 legs?
Because you never know what you're going to get with them. They can feel like that with them sometimes, though.
I know what I'm going to get from Tottenham at the moment against Liverpool. Liverpool are one of the smartest, cleverest sides in the Premier League. And when they went to Tottenham, what do you call that? I don't even know what you call Tottenham Stadium. The Tottenham. Yeah. We used to call it 3-point lane, but that was before they sort of shoveled it. They shoveled it right. They shoveled it round a little bit. But anyway, that's the problem, Kay. We do know what we're going to get from them. We're going to get some entertaining football, and we're going to get a side that are as open as you can be. And when you do that against the best of the best, and that's what Liverpool are in England at the moment, they're going to carve you apart. So why would it be any different than the game a couple of weeks ago?
Is Liverpool's defence the best of the best right now?
If we're going on their last game, no, they're not. Somehow the discussion has gone to VAR announcements within the stadium and that handball that led to the opening goal. It's beside the point that Spurs were the beneficiaries of easily the worst VAR refereeing mistake against Liverpool last season, but we're not going to go that far.
That's a grudge.
Right, we're not going to go that far. We're not going to go that far back, are we, Ange? But to my point, we're now talking about, from a Spurs perspective, we're back talking about the handball. We're back talking about a game that you lost at home, as opposed to focusing on exactly how poor Liverpool were. And while if you're on a slot, you're focusing on that, you know we can't be that bad 2 times in a row, Ange is just playing into the hands of a substandard Spurs. And that, for me, is the biggest disappointment.
Let's be honest, Tottenham could get, they could get absolutely smashed over 2 games here. And that would, I think ultimately that would cost him his job, because I think Levy would just pull the trigger. The fans would be so irate that his openness and his inability or unwillingness to sort of just adapt and change whilst the cavalry come back, I think it's just irking too many people. Now, that might not happen, but I think that doesn't happen if we go to Liverpool quickly. For them, it comes down to attitude. And the one guy who was talked about most across the board at the weekend was Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I saw a bunch of pundits, quotes from pundits, and to me, a lot of people just missing the point here about, well, Alexander-Arnold can have a bad game and Liverpool can have a bad day at the office. And I get that. Yes, absolutely yes. But that, for me, watching that game at the weekend, wasn't the issue. The issue was attitude, particularly with the fullback. When you allow people to waltz and saunter past you, and you don't even, for example, the Ahmed Diallo goal, I think it was, when I can't remember who, the United player that came inside, Alexander-Arnold is walking, right? That's not having a bad game.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of people have just completely missed the point here. That's not having a bad day at the office. That's unwilling to try and do your job. Stop the crosses, stop the wide players. And I saw that from him a lot at the weekend. And Van Dijk was giving him either a rollicking or a serious stare. And to me, he was, I think, a little bit, I'm surmising here, Alexander-Arnold, and he wasn't the only one, but he's a big star name who was subject of a bid from Real Madrid, and he looked to me as if he was sulking a little bit about how it's been handled and about the perception of the Liverpool fans, a lot of them, to the fact that he is keen to make the move, which I agree with, by the way, and I think most sensible people would say, hey, Real Madrid, Liverpool are a great club, they come along, grab it, go. And I think most sensible people would say to Alexander-Arnold, take that. But there's a lot of Liverpool fans who they can't see it. And I think that irked them. And what we saw, and sorry for going on, but what we saw was an attitude from a player that certainly we haven't seen this season. And that's a big difference.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. We have Craig and Shaka. Frank is with us.
It's like the English Premier League. Sorry, if you've just switched on now, I know you don't know what I'm talking about, but you'll have to go back and look. I'm not explaining, right? It's like the Australian A-League. The team at the top are Auckland, right? Now, Geography wasn't my strongest point, but I mean, I'm not bad. Yeah. Auckland is where, Shaq?
New Zealand?
Right.
Gonna go for?
So like the English it's like the English Premier League or the EFL. They have teams from Wales in it. Make your mind up. Ban them.
You know what? He's already getting opinions on the A-League. This is where it starts. This is where it starts, Frank. He's going to be an A-League enthusiast by the end of the year, I can guarantee it.
No, listen, I've got an idea.
Fund me to send Craig to Australia.
I've got an idea.
You will have to find another corner. You have to find the enthusiastic corner of Craig.
I've got an idea. And I'm going to pitch this to the bosses that I actually think you guys will quite like it. I only come on for the A-League segments.
Yeah.
Marvellous. As long as they're not every day. Only one a week.
This is changing quickly.
Only one a week on a Monday. I don't do much on a Monday anyway.
I hazard a guess it would be like a boomerang and you'd come bouncing back.
What's that?
You, after you.
Oh, that's very... is that an Australian euphemism?
Maybe.
You know, very generic. All Australians throw boomerangs, do they? Hey.
First question, Craig.
Put another shrimp on the barbie and all that.
You got to do the accent. Craig, can a signing...
Our boss is Australian.
There you go.
Well, one of them. What trouble are we going to be in now? I know he watches this every night.
No, we're not going to be in trouble.
Well, let's go. Frank's late.
Craig, can a signing solve the passive nature of Arsenal's attacking threat, or is it always going to be a low-ceiling version of Pep Ball as long as Arteta is in charge?
Well, it hasn't really been. There's been a lot of good stuff from Arsenal in the last couple of years. It's a little bit sort of pedestrian at times at the moment, but I think a spark up front, a better player, a better finisher, a better link-up player, all that stuff I think can only help, can it not? It's not going to make you weaker, it's going to make you stronger.
Okay. Shaka.
Happy with that?
Yeah. 3 points body spray by Stevie Nicol. It just made me laugh, the name.
A what? What is it?
3 points body spray.
3 points body spray. What does that mean?
What's Stevie's quote? Something about winning is the...
Oh, it's the deodorant.
Deodorant
Yes.
of something.
That's where it's come from.
All right, okay.
Winning is the deal.
You'll have to ask Stevie.
Yeah.
I won't do it justice.
Yes.
I won't do it
Yeah,
justice.
you've got to get the great philosopher to say it.
Ask Stevie. I don't know.
Hey, Shaka, given the way Newcastle's been playing lately, do you think they've got what it takes to win the League Cup? And as the mayor of Newcastle, if they pull it off, will you hop on a plane to celebrate with the team?
Well, I'll join in Craig and send Craig to Australia. I'll go to Newcastle happily. To the question, I still feel the other semi-final, Liverpool are the best team in English football right now. So that's a big leap. It's a one-off game, I know, so there's always that chance. But Newcastle, I said this on the weekend, Newcastle is the form team in English football right now. And to go to the Emirates to get the result, I know there's some good fortune about it. You start to kind of believe a little bit here.
Okay.
Questions are very long, aren't they?
Oh, because there's a bit of a shorter one. Frank, since we saw a good Manchester United at Anfield, are we likely to see a bad United at the Emirates this weekend?
According to Shaka, and he's nodding, yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's possible because we have no reason to think that everything is going back to the right path. You know, they've done a good game, but it was mostly because Liverpool didn't do the job. And I think the mentality, what they showed was pride, and I liked it. I liked the fact that they reacted, that they fought hard to go back into the game, to keep on working hard and to get the draw. But you hardly can make a statement from that, so you will have to wait for much more to see if it's getting better. And well, Arsenal's going to be upset because of the result tonight, so it's going to be a big task for United to beat them.
Craig, who needs to win the Carabao Cup more?
Nobody.
Arteta, Eddie Howe, or Postecoglou?
Postecoglou. Newcastle were in the Carabao Cup final a year or two ago.
2 years. Yep.
2 years ago. Manchester United didn't play badly, but lost in the end. But their league form, Newcastle, is such that obviously for Newcastle it will be huge, because I think it's, as we heard for those that listen to commentary tonight, was it 1950s or something since the last
Yeah,
FA. So it's been a while for a big club, but it's not affecting Eddie Howe's job per se, because the league form has been excellent. Shaq mentioned it. It's about the league for Arteta, let's be honest, and for Postecoglou, his league form is poor, and so therefore if he could chuck a trophy in, that would maybe help, would definitely help his issues in the league. So out of those three, he's the man that needs to grab something quickly, either a run of form in the league, which looks unlikely, or a Carabao Cup, which I have to say, 2 legs against Liverpool, also looks unlikely, but he needs it.
You should be supporting him with your new Aussie ways.
Well, I am. I sort of, yeah. I get a feeling when I land in Melbourne or wherever it is I'm going, that's not going to be the first thing immigration says to me. So I think I'm all right.
You think you're okay? Yeah, okay, good
Where
luck.
am I going, by the way, Shaq?
Away.
Away. Just away.
With much of the US in a deep freeze, can the boys share memories of the coldest game they've ever played in? Was it worse sitting on the bench or playing in such cold weather?
I was worse sitting on the bench. Playing, you can cope. You learn how to cope. I'll also say, it doesn't get as cold in England as it does here, sitting in the northeast of the US. I mean, what we've been enjoying last few days has been absolute. I don't think anybody can play football in these conditions. It's awful.
The coldest I must have, Aberdeen on the North Sea, on a midweek sort of evening when that cold, sleety rain is blowing in off the ocean. And these days, for the most part, they can go in the dressing room and they've got, at least two kits, haven't they? Jack, they get full change. Back then, because the kit men were lazy, not them all. The kit men always moaned. They never had the money for a second kit, so you always had the one kit. Once you go in there at half time and you're soaking wet, it doesn't dry in 15 minutes, and when you sit down. Oh my God! When that referee, you're actually like, please take me off, because when the whistle goes or the bell goes to go back out, you're like, oh my God.
I'll tell this story. So 2007, I'm playing with FC Dallas. First game of the season, we go to the West Coast, we play LA Galaxy. We then come back out east and we play New York Red Bull. And a nor'easter blows in. So we go from the heat of LA to the northeast of the US, and a nor'easter blows in, and it is frigid. I mean, it is pelting with rain, it is cold. Half time, 3 players, 1 from our team, 2 from New York, have to come off with hypothermia. Do you catch hypothermia? I don't know what you do with hypothermia, but they had to come off. They could not continue. That's the coldest I've felt playing a football match.
Oh my goodness. Any stories to share, Frank?
2, in fact. One, when I was at Strasbourg, it was better to be on the bench because we had a frozen pitch. It was very cold. It's like Connecticut in winter, and we had the snow, and we had a frozen field, but it wasn't heated, so it was like ice on the field. But on the bench, they had a heater just below the seats. So it was nice. They were warm and they were happy to be there. They don't want to come on. And we played in Tromsø, which is like, I would say 500 miles away from the North Pole. We played with Chelsea in the Champions League. And Vialli had a hell of a game. We lost 3-2, but Vialli scored 2 goals, and he was a great guy on the field, happy to play under the snow. We had to stop 3 times to play in the second half because we couldn't see the lines anymore. And I remember jumping and doing head against head with a striker, and I fell on the snow, and I had a kind of a butt. What do you call that? Yeah, a bum in my butt, my head, and the striker, my head, and the striker took the snow and said, Frank, do you need a little bit of ice? That would be good for you. But it was crazy cold over there, and again. The bum, not something else.
But all my buts.
Oh, he was freezing his backside off.
Easy to get them too confused, Frank. No worry. Sometimes I want.
Tell you what, though, it's bitter over here, isn't it?
Oh, it's freezing. It is freezing. Yes.
But it gets really. People don't realise it gets really bitter. But you know, I don't want to elongate this, but back in the day, I don't want to go. Well, back in the day, it was. Back in the day, it was. But these days, they'll put the tights on and all that, won't they?
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't mean like a pair of tights.
Very
but,
American now.
And gloves and all the gear. Back in the day. Back in the day, that was frowned upon.
Yeah, used to get hammered.
Like you'd maybe try and slip a glove on in the dressing room, see if anybody noticed.
You'd get hammered.
Before you even get one on, somebody would be like, "What's that you're putting on?" Like, oh, nothing. I'm just. You couldn't even put. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't manly back
But
then.
there are still those players in that weather that you see with the short sleeves on.
Yeah.
Just like.
Yeah, but you wouldn't get
breeze.
frowned upon now if you came out like with a big hoodie, ever in the film,
Gross.
like gloves. Even now in the better weather, some of the players they wear gloves. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
You'd have got hammered, so you had to. You had a choice. My teammates are going to absolutely hammer me, and so the crowd, or I get close to freezing to death, and I'm afraid it's the latter.
Yeah, I'll choose freeze to death.
Yeah. I chose
It
freezing.
doesn't get cold in Australia, does it? Just asking for a friend.
It does, but not like this.
It gets cold in the summer, right?
Yes. Well, yes.
Down south. Yeah.
Down south.
Yeah.
That's south.
Frank.
I could swim with great whites.
Redfin says, I am coming to Paris next week from the United States. What places should I visit?
Oh.
What plays you got going on?
Oh, well, I would say from the first to the 17 districts of Paris, you can go and walk and just look up, because it's like London. It's an open door museum. It's absolutely beautiful. You have history everywhere. You have explanations also in English everywhere, like Notre Dame, like of course the Champs-Élysées, the Eiffel Tower, the Montmartre. That everywhere in Paris is beautiful between the 1st and the 17th district. The 18th, 19th, and 20th is a little bit, I would say, a shamble, but yeah, you should avoid. But otherwise, go there, just walk, enjoy, and it's beautiful. Yeah, again, like you can feel it when you're in London and you walk down the street.
The Saint-Germain area, is that right, Frank? Saint-Germain?
Yes, Saint-Germain.
That's where we stayed.
Yeah.
That's where you're officially allowed to go there and put your fries on top of your pasta.
It's
all right.
If
If Steve McManaman can do it, you can do it. That's a bit of a question, though, isn't it?
Oh my God.
I'm going to Paris. Where should
That's
I go
where-
and visit?
Saint-Germain is where Hemingway. Yeah,
Maybe they want to
Saint-Germain
think a little
was
outside
it
of the
was the
box.
place. Saint-Germain was the place where Hemingway used to go and discuss with the other writers and starting to do some philosophy about life, drinkings, and enjoying their lives. That was a very spiritual place in almost a century ago.
Frank, you didn't give Redfin your address.
No, Frank will pick him up in his moped.
Yeah. Okay.
Cheap.
Okay.
I thought you might want to invite one of the viewers over to your house while they're in Paris.
I don't live in Paris. I live alongside Paris, close to the American Cemetery in Suresnes, which is very nice. So you can come over, and we'll invite you for sure. With that, Radvin? Yeah,
Radvin.
I invite you anytime. You send. Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Okay. Whatever.
It's on
Call me.
camera
Give
now.
me my number.
Yeah.
Give him my number.
All right, that'll do it for the latest edition of Extra Time.
I'm
Thank
going
you
to
so
Paris.
much.
Where should I go visit that big thing?
You got to Paris back in the day.
Back in the day.